All right, we're live. Greetings, everybody. Lance Bell here, CEO and Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer for ServingIntel. And we're going to do something a little different today. We have a special guest, a gentleman I met about a year ago. He's become a good friend, Darin Leonardson. And I want to start off by praising AI because the intro picture for the two of us looks pretty amazing. I think we're going to start losing about 5 years every time we do a webinar, which would be fantastic.
When I saw that, I was like, Lance, that's crazy. How'd you get that picture? I like that.
We've got, if you as an attendee have questions, please type them in. And my amazing director of marketing, Arnell Belda, is going to bring those forth for Darren and I. We're going to have a free-flowing conversation today. And we're going to keep this focused on food and AI. Darren, your organization's doing a lot with AI, and you get a great background. I was actually looking. You started in Seattle. You spent some time. You did club, hotel, Google. I'm sure you got some amazing stories from your time there, serving the Google employees in a young part of that organization's story. And so I'm going to drop the share, and I've got a few questions for you. And we'll just kind of get the ball rolling. So you went from restaurants and hotels and clubs and institutional over to senior living, and now you're doing a lot with technology in the world of senior living. So what kind of inspired you to bring all this together to combine your experience with AI and culinary innovation?
Yeah, well, I think like just going back to like you pointed out Google, which was just obviously a progressive company. It was in Seattle, it was right in the backyard of Microsoft. And so I actually worked with them through Bon Appetit Management Company that was owned by Compass Group. And so that is one of their largest partners. In fact, when I was with them globally, they were doing $100 million a year in business. And so like I was right there with all the developers and the thought leaders in right in Microsoft's backyard. And they would, one thing that's really interesting, they had groups of 4 people per office. That was how they had it. It was a pod, and there would always be a manager and 3 other thought leaders that would be designing everything. And like where I was in Kirkland, that's where Google Earth came from. They
Hmm.
created that,
Yeah.
and they were charged with so 60% of their job was just the 4 of them talking and creating the next Google thing, and then like 30% was like, okay, what are we supposed to do? Right. And so that was just really inspiring. As I thought about that, I'm like, ooh, I really like that. Like we should all be thinking about what innovative products are of the future. So they were really thinking like 10 years ahead always. And there was another thing that Larry Page came in, and an owner, right? And he actually, I got to see him in a boardroom meeting, and he said to me, hey, you're the new chef. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, great, I got 3 things that I want you to do. And I was just like, I just got hired, and I was like, okay, what is this? I mean, this guy was already a billionaire. And he said to me, all right, I've got 3 rules. I want all organic food, and I don't want the same menu item to cycle back in 30 days. Like he just like was wanted it fresh, organic, all local farms. Like it was a high stakes. Like, hey, as a chef, you got to really bring it, because they were trying to attract Microsoft employees into Google. And then he said, also, number 1 is I want to make sure the water is room temperature. So we had refrigerators that we stored all the water. He unplugged them. And he's like, I don't want the water cold. And I'm like, I didn't say to him, like, what are you? You're like wacko. Like, I like cold water. And he said, no, there's been a lot of evidence that actually warm water helps the brain activity so you can think harder and smarter. And if it's cold, it stifles creativity and innovation. So those things just stuck with
Yeah.
me. And then after Google is when I got into senior living and just really haven't looked back. So I thought I'd share that little Google moment.
So today, do you drink cold water or warm water?
So cold. I absolutely hate warm water. Like like maybe after like playing basketball hard or running, I'll drink whatever water is available. But like warm water is disgusting. Like I like it ice cold, fresh. and I'm okay if I've stifled some brain activity and innovation.
Amen. Amen. So you spent a lot of time with some great organizations, and then apparently you got the entrepreneurial itch and you started Transform Culinary. Talk a little bit about that transition and then
Yeah.
what is Transform Culinary?
Yeah, so well, I'll tell you, everything's born through failure. And so honestly, I was working as a VP of hospitality and dining after I'd since been transitioned to healthcare and senior living. And it was exciting because I'd done all walks of life in restaurant and hotels, all the way from cruise ships to mom and pop shops to high-end five-star hotels. So I'd been there. And then when I got into senior living, it was like the light bulb went off. I was like, oh, I can tell you exactly what's wrong here. They're just not doing enough. We're not pulling enough of what restaurants and hotels are doing. And so for me, it was like a win-win. I was like, as a chef, when I would be competing in the restaurant hotel industry, it was tough, right? You had to be constantly thinking of new ideas, fresh things. Whereas when I got into senior living and healthcare, I had all these tricks up my sleeves. I could just pull out one card and everyone would be like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And so I was sort of stuck in that for a little while, like winning and just realizing this is just like I could almost sleep and do the things that we're doing here in healthcare. But then it dawned on me, I'm like, we should be doing so much more. Like we should be just as innovative as the restaurant and hotel industry. And so it wasn't until I was laid off. So got laid off from a high up job. I was a VP. There was some financial issues. They said, hey, it's not work performance. It's just, honestly, we just have to cut expenses. But that was a blind side because at that point I was living paycheck to paycheck, and like a lot of us are. And my wife and I were like, we don't even know where our next, mortgage payment is going to come from. And so that's where I really leaned on God. I was like, hey, like you've got me through other things. I'm going to trust you through this. And, even though it's scary. And so that was step number one. I'm going to trust God. And then step number two was my wife was like, you should create an LLC company. And I was like, why? And she's like, because you've done everything. You've been in restaurants, hotels, you've been in all aspects of senior living, from long-term care, post-acute, hospitals, assisted living, memory care. Like you definitely have things that you could teach people. So just create an LLC. But her idea around it was so that we could stand out from the crowd when we were back on the job market and people are applying for a job. I could say, hey, you could hire me as a consultant. And, I know you've got 4 other people interviewing for the job. You have to go through the HR hoops, and maybe it's going to take a month to bring them on board. You could hire me tomorrow and I could start to make an impact in your business. And that's how it started. And so I won my first contract just from that. And then it just kept growing from there, and really just haven't looked back. And it's been so exciting.
That's awesome. So our webinar, our theme is AI in senior living. So what does Transformed Culinary do today with the latest of technologies?
Yeah, well, first I was just going to say, so if you haven't noticed, I'm wearing Meta glasses, and now I'm recording from them. Okay, so I'll get into that, kind of what I'm doing, and also you can see I'm actually recording myself on a DJ Osmo, so that I can, capture different angles of what's happening. Like this is going to be really cool that I'm going to be recording this whole moment, and obviously the Meta glasses. I can ask it all kinds of stuff, and you can be in different countries and be like, I can't pronounce this menu. Can you please read it to me? And it'll read it back to you. So obviously we're all in tune with what's happening from an AI perspective. But I'll just start by saying, with my company, I knew that I wanted to do something different. And honestly, what was exciting is the company that laid me off had biblical verses in their core values. And ironically, what hit me, it was like, well, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. Jesus is really the center of my life. And I was like, but am I making that become? And here I have an opportunity to be the CEO of my own company. I'm like, I'm going to do that. And so the word transformed came from Romans 12:2, which is do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. then you'll be able to test and approve what God's perfect, pleasing will is for your life. And so that was just so exciting. Once I did that, then business just really started making sense. I was in my purpose, my sweet spot. It was where passion and purpose come together. So I sort of recognized through a lot of people that joined our company that like my pulpit and ministry is food, is the love and the hospitality that I provide. And so our company is really just about elevating. We're that tailor-made suit boutique cherry on the top, if you will. So we can come in and help any organization that maybe already has a VP, but maybe they're struggling with getting some of their initiatives and their policies and things that their leadership is wanting. Well, we come in the fold, and you have our network of chefs and talent. We have people that work for the Ritz-Carlton. We have Food Network chefs, and so just rubbing shoulders and connecting from a network perspective can elevate all of us together. So that's essentially what Transformed Culinary Solutions does. And then to answer your question on AI, my son. So like how it started, Lance, was we have Food Network chefs on our team, and one of them, Stephen C. Beatty, who is a gold medalist for Team USA. He's won 3 golds. He won 2 Food Network shows for Halloween Wars, Chopped, and Cake Wars. He's known for carving, incredible like displays on pumpkins and all kinds of stuff. So it's graffiti carving, but he had a publicist, and she came on board, and he was traveling a lot, and he would work with some of our clients, and Steve needed recipes because they would be submitting them to Martha Stewart magazine and Food and Wine magazine. And so my son Cameron, who at the time, he was 19, he saw that I was struggling to write recipes and incorporate this low sodium Pop Secret seasoning, which is a great product for senior living. He's like, Dad, that took you 2 hours. He's like, I could do that in 5 minutes. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, have you not heard of ChatGPT? And, he's like, well, I can incorporate and have it talk to different things. And so I'm like, prove it to me. And so literally within like 10 minutes, he comes back with like a full menu set with all the Pop Secret seasoning and the celebrity chef and his whole vibe. Like, I was like, this looks like I wrote it. He's like, yeah, you did, because I pulled your profile and everything and loaded it into the thing, just like you did with the picture. And so that just elevated like what ChatGPT could do, and just AI in general. I recognized that I needed to incorporate it more into my strategy and my business plan as a CEO and thought leader, and that I could become more innovative and more efficient in the role that I did. So I think it's all about looking at the younger generation and how are they using the tools, because that's where we can learn the most, honestly.
Absolutely. You just mentioned Pop's Secret Seasoning. What's that
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. So Pop Secret Seasoning is actually from Stephen C. Beatty. So he is a Food Network award-winning chef. So his seasoning, we align on a lot of different levels with different clients that are looking for something that's a little bit elevated. When he first launched this Pop Secret Seasoning product, which was so cool to hear his story. So he actually comes from the projects, like a rough town in Ohio. I got to see it. His family, drug addiction, in and out of prison. He was actually on the streets at 12 years old. And then his dad rehabilitated, got out and started feeding the community, changed his life over to God, started helping the community. So here at 12, he's like seeing his dad go through, ruin the family, all this stuff, and then get out and totally like give his life to Christ and like wanting to help the community. And he did it through food. So he started barbecuing. He started barbecuing for the community and giving back. And then him and his dad reconnected, and he asked his dad, hey, what's in that? Because everyone is like, so good, you're helping out. And his dad looks at him and says, it's a secret, son. And so of course he goes to culinary school, he learns what the seasoning is, and starts to emulate it in his own stuff. But then fast forward, from a tragedy standpoint, he loses his dad to a tragedy, just dies without even being able to connect and know him. And then, a week later, someone's like, how are you going to honor your dad? And so his seasoning has passion, which is red, and yellow for remembrance. And then he brought up the Pop Secret seasonings. And when he created the first sample of it on Father's Day to honor him, it sold out on Facebook in like 3 minutes. And
Oh,
so
wow.
then he created the line. And then that's how we met. I met him. And then I told him, I was like, I love your seasoning, but I can't use it in senior living or healthcare. And I said, because it's high in sodium. I need low sodium. And he's like, I'll come back to you. And he re-engineered it with his whole team and made it low sodium. Hold on one sec. Let me just let one person in. Okay, I'll be right
Oh,
back.
yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Um, I ran into Darin. Darin lives outside of Dallas, but we had lunch together after a mutual friend introduced us a little over a year ago. And it's interesting to see how he works with all these different celebrity chefs in order to bring new stuff into the mix. And Darin, that's one of the things, since you're doing something that I would argue or believe that senior living is never seen, what actual tangible benefits or solutions are you bringing into senior living today?
Yeah, so several things. So obviously with my son, coming on board, and hold on a sec, let me just, oh, there we go. I'm like fixing my DJ Osmos, which is one of them. So actually, I start with that. Actually, so the Meta glasses that you see here and the DJ Osmo that is recording me here, and our iPhone. So what we do actually with one of our biggest clients, HHS, which is so cool because they're a huge contract management company, over 800 locations nationwide. Why did they want to partner with us? Well, celebrity chefs help, right? But HHS is not known for culinary. They're known for laundry and housekeeping. But actually, the bigger part of their business is culinary. They actually have incredible, talented chefs, over probably 5,000 that work for their organization in all different levels with the hospitals. So they came to us because they were seeing what we were doing on social media, on LinkedIn, and just we're always cooking, we're always elevating food, but we elevate our chefs into really their own brands, right? We each have our own brand, our own identity. And so we partner with them and they're like, hey, we need your help with our chefs. Like they're doing incredible jobs, but how do you teach someone to be great on social media and to encompass all the great food that they're doing? And so that's exactly what we did. We formed a whole culinary council team of 12 of their thought leaders around the whole country. And
Mhm.
then they all received Meta glasses, DJ Osmos, iPhones, and then they got trainings from our video editing team and Chef Steve, who's just always extraordinary with production and how to do it because of Food Networks. And so now they're actively producing their own content actually on a weekly basis. Every one of the chefs is featuring all kinds of stuff. So they're doing like sushi in hospitals. They've got dry aged steak programs. One of them, we just did a chef off super chef event for HHS where they had 700 of their chefs compete for it narrowed it down to 15 chefs, and then one chef won. And I just saw a post, he was just on TV, like talking about all the stuff he's doing at his hospital. He's making like seared ahi with wasabi and this amazing sweet soy sauce with avocados and mangoes. And it's like, this is in a hospital. Like you can get that kind of food. And so when I knew we were successful from that was that I was getting pinged from other CEOs saying, wait a minute, I thought they were laundry and housekeeping. And it was like, bingo, that's exactly what we did there with them, was elevate them. And then from the perspective of what my son brings to the table, so knowing now that he has the ability to develop recipes, he takes it a step further. So he can actually develop all the nutritionals, he can spread all the diets, and he can add the professional food photography photo of all the recipes and all the completed meals.
Mhm.
And when he was showing me how he connects like ChatGPT to Mid Journey and uses JSON, and like he's writing code, but he's doing it all through AI. Like it's like you can become a programmer and editor, and you can obviously tell AI, hey, I want you to get me a photo like you're the most professional photographer using, this camera with the extended lens, and then the photo or the food picture is on a wooden cutting board and the plate is always 12 inches and the angle is like, that's how he does it. And so like we get this consistent shot. And so those are just two things that have really upped our game, and it's fun. Like those things are super fun for us, what we do with our teams.
That's great. In senior living, I hear this from time to time, and it personally annoys me. There's a number of three-lettered acronyms that essentially stand for daily resident food cost. I've heard operators brag, our PDR is $7.23. And it's hard in my mind to take the food experience that a resident should get with $7.23 is what we're going to put on the plate over the course of three meals and maybe a snack. How are you? This seems like a giant chasm.
Yeah.
How are you educating senior living operators on concepts like food is medicine and food serves mental health? How are you trying to change paradigms?
Yeah, no, I love that. And like going to one of the things I love about you, Lance, and with Serving Intel is the AI technologies that you've incorporated. Like we were talking about how your ability, like if I'm at one of my buildings and I want to know like, hey, how did the chicken parmesan perform up against the roast pork a month ago, right? I can go in and I can pull those studies and see that, the roast pork actually there was only 20 portions and it was like, through the roof with the other dish. And so those things really help, I think, from a cost standpoint, because you can be proactive in your production, in your ordering and your planning, so that if you do have that food cost, like, hey, how can we get to that, right? As a chef, it doesn't scare me when you say $7.50. I have chefs that work for us. They're able to do gourmet food that is incredible for like $5. And it's because they're getting whole primals and they're so passionate. They're breaking down these whole primals and they're using like the sinew and the fat and like rendering it down and like getting whole vegetables and getting deals where there's like the ugly vegetables that no one wants to buy and incorporating that into what they're doing. And so like it can be done. It can be done, but that's hard and that's difficult. And then I think the other aspect that's really cool about what you're doing, Lance, is to be able to manage and look at the inventory, like what is in your inventory. And even though you have this menu, I think the ability to take what's in your inventory and then augment it into your daily menu for the next couple days. Like I know we have, let's say it's asparagus on the menu, but we're out of it and it's not in season. And you've got these wonderful, roasted beets. And so let's use up the beets and pickle them and add a little bulk bacon and balsamic and then get the dietitian's approval to sign off on it. And now we're not buying that expensive asparagus that's out of season and not the quality is going to be lower. And we've augmented it with those beets that are totally in season right now, especially. And so I think you having those abilities to help our operators that manage within that cost structure is key. And of course we can look, you should be looking at the higher level of, are you on a GPO, a group purchasing organization? Are you being consistent in your buying? So there's those elements. And then I know I sidetracked. There was another part of your question that you asked me and I went on a tangent. So ask me that again.
Well, the food is medicine piece of this. I'm trying to.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, again, the concept of three meals and a dollar amount is so sterile. That's what sets me off. It's not the experience, and then food as medicine. There are things we're learning today about ingredients that help longevity, not just in more years in the community, but higher quality of life, healthier residents. And I'm thinking, Darin, we got to elevate, we got to get past that number and elevate maybe to our occupancy rates. Better food, better experiences, more residents and a higher
Very true.
occupancy rate, which obviously explodes net operating income. Where do you have with food as medicine?
Yeah, no. Well, first of all, what I really love is we're talking to right now a new team member, Dr. Lauren Powell. She is known as the culinary doctor. So she was a medical doctor. She has her own practice in Atlanta. She's on a lot of different TV shows. It's because the whole food is medicine is huge right now. Well, her father was on a bunch of medication. She's obviously his doctor, and wasn't getting, the change in his health and his wellness. And then she started, just feeding him different things and like giving him nutrition and antioxidants, and watching what, the unhealthy things that he was eating, is just trying to pump him up with more healthy foods that we all know of, like green vegetables and, foods of color. And she saw a drastic change in his health. In fact, it was like a complete turnaround after a stroke that he had. And so she's like, I'm going to culinary school. So as a doctor, she went to go to culinary school to understand food and really understand how she can cook and prescribe not only medicine, but what foods her clients should be eating, to really combine that with the wellness journey. And so it's been incredible. And so we're so excited to partner with her and incorporate her philosophies, right, from a chef and dietitian perspective. I think that's gonna help really take food to the next level. But I will say this. I experienced it myself when I did this program called Whole30. So I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's a elimination diet. You do it for 30 days. I was actually 260 pounds. I was honestly high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and I was 40. And my wife gave me this book, and I was like, oh, not another, diet. She's like, just read it. And it was all about like just stopping these foods that are known to be bad for your health, and you might not know it, and they're causing inability in your fitness and your wellness. And so I stopped them for the entire month. So it's no sugar, no wheat, no dairy, no alcohol. And you basically eliminate that. And so what you're left with is whole foods. You're eating lean meats, vegetables, fruits. But what was so inspiring to me is that I could have a giant porterhouse steak grilled with roasted garlic, rosemary, garlic potatoes, and a pound of asparagus, and have hollandaise or béarnaise sauce over the top. And that was a part of the diet. So I was eating twice as much food, but it was whole foods that I was consuming. Well, guess what? I was working out 3 days a week, and I lost 45 pounds in 30 days. And I went to the doctor, and they said, you can get off your blood pressure and your cholesterol medicine. And because they're like, I don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, I'm just eating whole foods. And so like that as a chef made me realize like, okay, I should be designing menus. We as chefs and dietitians, especially in senior living and healthcare, like shame on us for putting margarine in all of our stuff. And just like when we think about the food that we just keep giving the seniors, it's freaking killing them.
Yeah.
Like we have to do a better job of chefs of changing that menu, and we can change the menu and make it better so that they can live longer and have more time with their loved ones. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And so, not to be long-winded, what's really excited, Lance, is now with my son with Transformed Intelligence and doctors, and we have nutritionists and wellness directors that are coming on board with us. We have the ability to do that now. We can actually start to change those old, outdated cycle menus that are always just worried about cost. And we can actually give the residents, number one, what they want, what they're excited about, and what actually helps them from a nutritional standpoint. And food is medicine. We all know it.
Yeah, there's a piece of this, an education piece of this, because you nailed it. When you look at the history, how margarine came to be, it's gross. It was basically a food waste product that got converted into something that we were marketed to as the healthy alternative, but it actually kills you as you eat margarine or Crisco. There's a number of byproducts like that that replace grass-fed butter. And Darren, part of this in my head is whole foods, whole ingredients, like a steak. You can have small portions of whole foods satiated. I love that word, satiated. You can get your residents to be so satisfied. They end up eating less quantity, higher quality, and you get better health outcomes.
Oh, 100%,
And
100%. And we have, so we've developed Transform Culinary Kits, which is our own training in the box kit series. We have 12 of them now. So on our website, We have food artistry, puree artistry, cooks training, knife skills where you can get Chef Steve's enhanced skills. We have a front of the house training that's actually incorporated. You see, I've got VR training now that
Oh
we're
yeah.
incorporating in. So virtual reality of the way to training. I mean, Walmart and Marriott and Disney are already doing this. We got to get with the program here. So we work with a company called Virtual Conquest that is incorporating the VR aspect of our training. And we do it through our own LMS through LearnWorlds. And right now on our website, it's free. So for all of October and November, we're just giving everyone access to all of our trainings free. And so these are valued at like $3,000 programs, so you can engage with them right now. But the most exciting one that I'm excited about is our Divine Wellness Kit. So for me, and you know my purpose and my passion, I think I like to take it a step further and go like, what does God say about or the Bible, right? What does the Bible say about foods that were known to be great, that everybody ate in the Bible and like that talked about it? And I was like, gosh, if the God of the universe made these things, me as a chef, I want to put those into the foods that I do. And it, coincidentally, the foods in the Bible talk a lot about fresh herbs and pomegranates and antioxidants, berries, bread, right? The bread of life. Just there's so much there that is wonderful that you can incorporate into your cuisine. And so that's exciting. And then correlated with celebrity chefs, dietitians, wellness directors, like after we do eat these foods, what are some exercises that we can do, especially as we age, that maybe help encourage us to keep eating healthy and keep living well. So I'm excited about, really, honestly, Lance, the senior living and healthcare of the future. Like it's
Beautiful.
coming to where everybody is going to incorporate food as medicine into what they're doing and what residents are excited about.
Well, that's cool. Well, we kind of, you and I did this as a whim coming together. There are so many more topics that you and I can delve into. So let's plan on getting back
Yeah.
together in a
Yes.
near episode. Darren and I are speaking at the California Assisted Living Association show, which is coming up in about 2.5 weeks in Palm Springs. I look forward to being on stage with you as we spend 90 minutes, not the normal 60, but 90 minutes talking about all of these amazing technologies and paradigm changes for how we can better serve the residents in senior living. And Darren, if somebody wants to learn about your free training program that you got going on now or anything, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, you can call me 425 call, text, or go to our website, Transformed Culinary Solutions, and you'll see there our shop account. We have branded oil and vinegars that we partnered with a company, oil and vinegar, that has branded our stuff. We have like
Hmm.
vinegars like strawberry rhubarb pulp vinegar, date bacon balsamic from Italy. Like these things are from Italy, Tuscany. They're incredible. We got other things coming. And then the Learn Worlds is on the front of the bar. So you can just go right in there and start to watch all the Transform Culinary kits that we have, which there's over 12 different ways to engage. And Cameron is developing an AI course that's going to be launching in about 2 weeks as well. So if you don't understand ChatGPT, he's breaking it down into the simplicity of here's how he uses it,
Oh,
especially from a menu nutrition standpoint. So all that is there on the website, and feel free to engage. It's all free.
that's awesome. Arnell will put your contact information on the YouTube video link so people can go there to comments and get a hold of you through the YouTube video share. It was cool. I appreciate your time today. It was great getting connected with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lance. And we'll see you at Kala. And I appreciate everybody on the call today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great day.